Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Friends and family. Well, you're all my family. Welcome to the Betterism Podcast. We have another live show today. Happy Saturday. So, to start today's show off, I am your host, Lachey Taylor, and I'm super excited to be here this evening. We're going to have a super dope conversation. This is with my friend, Sherry Oehler. Sherry is like one of the most fascinating, free-spirited people that I have ever met. I know her it's probably maybe been about 2 years. And the connection was through, our good friend, Bobby Smith, Fruit Up with Bobby Smith. And I believe she was one of his original clients when he had first became a coach. And I met him through her. So that was the connection. And the more I learned about her, the more I just admired her ability to be who she wants to be, do whatever she wants to do, feel her way through life without judgment, without restriction, without barriers. And the journeys and the adventures that she's been on are just one of those things that I'm pretty sure most of us aspire to experience. So, further ado, I'm just going to bring her on. We're going to have an amazing conversation about the different experiences that she's had, and we're just going to get into it. So let me just bring you on, Sherry, and unmute your microphone, and then we can get into it. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. Oh, it's so good to be with you. Thank you. How are you?
It's actually been a while since we have talked. I can't even remember when was the last time we talked. It was definitely a few months ago. Probably, I don't know. It's been a while.
It feels like it's been a while. Yeah.
Honestly, I think one of the last times I spoke to you, it was through text message, but verbally was when you were just completing that 21-day water fast in Costa Rica. And I think we were on a 3-way or on a Zoom call with Bobby.
We did a Zoom while I was there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so much has happened since then.
A lot has changed in my life since then. Man, I had no idea what was coming.
You know what? And me either. Just based on how I was acquainted to you, the lifestyle that you were living at that time, and just how on the opposite end of it that you're at. And it's just I'm just okay, I need to know what led from point A to point Z. How did you get from there to here? But anyways, tell the audience a little bit about yourself. And then, we can get into it.
All right, cool. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Sherry, and I'm really working on introducing myself as what I am instead of just a bunch of roles or stuff that I used to do. So I'll try this with your audience. I think free spirit is the right way to define me. I also just recently put mystic on my Facebook page because I'm that sounds pretty cool. I retired from the military a couple years ago, and I'm just feeling my way through life and learning how to follow guidance of spirit and really trust and have faith that there's this grand plan for my life. And then I'm just meant to kind of flow into it and take the next step. And if I'm doing it in love and not with some sense of I don't know, avoiding people or judgments or anything like that, I don't know. It just feels like things just flow nicely for me. So
beautiful.
And A Course in Miracles has been my spiritual inspiration. So a lot of the way that I talk and how I experience reality is because I've studied this material so much for the past, 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. And your YouTube channel, I loved how you became really intentional about dedicating your YouTube channel to A Course in Miracles. And you were doing a day of a lesson. And that was I actually purchased the book because of you. And, I didn't read all of it, but I did get into it. And I was just inspired by, number one, your dedication and your consistency to say actually going to teach A Course in Miracles, or at least give my perspective of what I've learned. And you do it day after day after day, and your consistency on that, you didn't like skip a day at all. And then to watch you evolve spiritually in your practices, and just like in your essence, like throughout that time, it's commendable. So yeah, it's like super dope to me. So let's go back to like when I first met you. You were like Bobby Smith's first coaching client. I remember you were like his first paying coaching client.
Yes.
Because it was like your goal. You were like a raw vegan and you were aspiring to be a fruitarian.
Right.
So
yeah.
what got you there? Like what got you into being a raw vegan? What was the reason for that? And why did you want to like become a fruitarian at that time?
Well, during COVID, I started on this vegetarian journey, and I started learning about like medical medium cleanses, and it just became this idea that I was fixated on, that I needed to be eating a plant-based diet. I don't know. I was convinced by various sources, and just kind of felt like spiritually, if I'm going to be on this path, I have to be eating only plants, because I can't have violence in my field. And I was just like so obsessed with this narrative, I guess, around, vegetarian, vegan, ethical reasoning behind doing it. And so yeah, I was just like, this is who I am, this is where I'm going. And I thought fruit was like the next level up, because I had done vegetarian, vegan, a little raw, but I was like, man, fruit is where it's at. And then I start watching like Dr. Robert Morse, of course, Bobby, all the like influencers in the field. And it was so exciting, because I felt like I'm a part of this community, and we're all here to do alternative healing, or just like, make our vibration louder and brighter or whatever. So yeah, that was my focus. That was my reality back then.
All right, makes sense. And how did you feel while you were on that path? Like, how did you feel when you were eating all fruit? Like, what's the longest you ever gone? Have you ever gone like being exclusively fruit for like an extended period of time? Or was it just something you tried to do but were struggling with? Like, how was your experience? Like, how disciplined were you when you were in that lifestyle? And how did you feel physically while you were like on that path at that time?
Well, I kept feeling like I was getting better and better, because I was like getting cleaner and cleaner. And, it started with this 40 days of juicing. I think I did that first.
Okay.
And yeah, I mean, so that was the beginning. And then I was reading all this like Arnold Ehret about like mucoid plaque and everything. So I had this big major experience with the juicing. And then I was just developing this like devotion for the fruits and vegetables, like this real spiritual connection with these plants. And I was like, God, they're so medicinal, and like worshiping them in a way. So yeah, and I felt amazing. I think because my spiritual practice was going on concurrently, like I was just opening up on so many levels. And so I was putting my attention on the plants, and I was so grateful. And it just created this like, I don't know, continuous energy of just happiness and curiosity and excitement with the diet and with sharing about it.
Right. And I was going to ask you that, like, do you think it was because of what you were consuming, like how good you were feeling was a result of the food you were eating and the lifestyle choices you were making, and how good you were feeling about yourself because you believed that what you were doing for yourself was cleaning you out more and raising your vibration and all of these things? Like, or do you like, or was it like, what is that word? What they call it, the placebo effect? Like, was it because you believed what you were doing for yourself was so good that your body your cells read that and you were actually feeling good? Was it because of the belief that what you were doing for yourself was good, or do you believe that what you were consuming was actually what was making it happen. You know, it both things can be true at one time. You know, it could go hand in hand. And you know that the diets and the lifestyles that we did live prior to even embarking on these journeys most certainly did kind of like dirty our fields. I do believe that. Like when you're living a lifetime of eating processed food and you know, it's not good for us accumulating all this toxic waste over years, especially when there aren't any intentional cleansing type of foods going inside to help cleanse our gut. So I'm pretty sure both can be true at the same time. You kind of answered that. So I don't need you to like respond to that in a sense. That's more rhetorical because you did kind of answer it. But I was wondering, like, do you think it was because of exclusively the fruits, or do you think it's because you were believing what you were doing for yourself was good? And I do think your cleansing journey, just objectively or observantly, prior to that for probably years, but I don't know exactly how you lived before that either. So like, how did you eat before you started? And how was your energy, even not even considering the food, as far as like the quality of your relationships, how you felt about yourself? How was that before you even started your health journey with the foods?
Well, I think I was pretty healthy. I got real serious around COVID, and just I was already kind of on this vegetarian path, but when that happened, that became, because I was like, I'm not going to get a vaccine. I'm not going to be wearing masks and being afraid. I'm going to, really focus on my immune system. And so I was already eating well, but then at that point I was like, I have to eliminate all animal products. So that started 2020 started my road to vegan. And I love your question. It kind of like the connection broke up for a minute, and then when it came back up, you were just asking me this question. But I do want to just back up for a second and say I love your question about, do I feel like what made me feel good was my beliefs or because of what I was putting in my body? And both can be true. So I love that question, and I think both are true, because at least the way the course helps me understand reality is like, in this reality, I'm in a body and I'm having these like experiences of, whatever life is happening, like I feel it with my sensations. But there's another part of us that doesn't have a body. And so I try to like pay less attention now to, thinking about my body all the time and like cleaning it, or I don't know, like being perfect or anything. It's just like not on my mind like it was before. So
Yeah,
I've
it could become an obsession, right?
right. It did feel like it was, well, I do think I was forcing myself. I mean, when it's all said and done, I think the transition was after the water fast. I started asking myself questions all the time about, why are you doing this? Is this authentically you, or is this a people pleasing, or you're trying to comply and conform for some reason? Like, I was so specific with myself. And this is what came up, is like, you're trying to make yourself into this fruitarian, breatharian wannabe, and that's not really you. And maybe it will be one day, but it's not right now. And there's so much resistance. And it was just like, I don't know, I had to do something different. And so then when I started eating meat, I had all these changes in my body, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I can feel this good. And before, I thought, I couldn't believe I felt that good. So now I feel better. And it's like,
Interesting.
I would never have thought of doing this after all those videos of like Professor Spira and Brother Air. Like, I mean, I was fully indoctrinated in believing that like meat truly makes people criminals and violent, and that there's stuff rotting inside of the body of meat eater. I mean, like, I believed all that. And so eating this way now has made me challenge every one of those beliefs and judgments that I've had. And like, none of it seems to be true at all. But I would never have known that when I was just kind of in the vacuum of, this is just how it is. And now I'm like fully immersed in the carnivore community, and it's a vibe that I didn't expect at all. So many people are like, I'm a former vegetarian, former vegan, and they're like, I'm having all these health improvements. Old people are getting started. They're like, I'm done with medicine. And so it's just so different. And then the people that I'm following are like doctors, and they used to eat whatever they ate, or they were like keto, and then they started eating carnivore and having these health experiences. And then they're starting to like have their patients do this. So I don't know, all the judgments that I had, I faced every one of them. And I guess what I found is another community of people who want to, feel better, heal themselves. And that's always so inspiring to be around that energy. So however you're getting to that, I think that's life well lived.
Okay. So when you were in your 21-day water fast, because I know you had went to Lauren Lockman's water fast retreat, and then you had the 7 days of the Costa Rican fruit right after that, like the refeeding. Yeah. Now, when you were questioning yourself as far as, okay, why am I doing this? Am I forcing myself to do this to fit an ideal? Am I doing this because it's expected of me? Like those questions you are asking yourself, was this during the water fast? Because no, I remember, because I remember speaking to you after the water fast, and after the water fast, you had actually stated that you would actually see yourself being a fruitarian afterwards, and like eating more pure and eating more clean. And, I was like, wow, like that's amazing, and
I believed it at the time.
Okay. So when did that questioning start coming? Like how far between the water fast and like whatever other experiences you were going through or allowing or putting yourself through, like gave you that moment where you just came to that decision, like it doesn't matter what I am consuming. Like I don't think any of how I believed or what I was doing was true. Like when was that moment? Like how far between the retreat and that thought? Like how much time lapse was that? Because I was really shocked when you had came out as a carnivore.
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask me that question. And so I was thinking as best I could. It was during the summer, because I was living in Florida. I think it was maybe July. So I was hardcore on the fruitarian diet that Lauren Lockman prescribed for us for months. And it was like all this ripe, fresh, wonderful fruit all day long, and then having a salad for dinner. And I felt pretty satisfied with that for a little bit. And then I started to get like these feelings like I want different textures or something. So I said, all right, I'll allow myself to have a piece of toast, but I still want to eat everything else raw. And then I wanted this plant-based butter. And so I was doing that. And then the refrigerator starts talking to me, and the real butter, the animal butter, is like, eat me. So I was like, all right, I don't really listen to talking refrigerators, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this, because I was like, is this gonna ethically ruin me if I have some butter? I don't eat any animal products. Like I was very feeling like I wasn't disloyal to have some butter on my toast. And then I just started feeling like I'd like to have more meat. And I was so shocked. Like the first time it crossed my mind, I was like, what? Like meat? I can't believe that. So I had this little internal fight for a little while. And then I was like, you know what? Who cares? Because one thing, I know you wanted me to talk about the 10-day Vipassana meditation course. Mm-hmm. Now I went to that a year before. No, I'm sorry, not a year. Not even. That was in August of 2023. And the water fast was in March of 24. So not that much time in between. But one of the things that happened to me on day 7 of this 10-day thing was I had this like ecstatic experience where I felt one with everything, and I became the tree and the air and all this stuff. Well, before that happened, I had this spontaneous visitation from Yogananda, Amrit Desai, who's the guru where I lived in Florida, and then Mickey Singer, who's a man who wrote The Surrender Experiment. So like these people kind of show me that, okay, you're on this yogic path. I feel like that was the message. And then I'm like, well, where's Jesus? Because I'm a Course in Miracles person and he's my guide. So it's like he's kind of scanning the body or all of my energy fields, I guess. And the one thing he says to me, this is like my moment. I'm in heaven with all these master beings. And Jesus says, it doesn't matter what you eat. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm on this plant-based journey. I'm taking it to the next level. You have to be wrong about that. So I sort of like took that comment and put it aside and just kept plugging along on my journey of like juice fasting and all this stuff that I did. Because I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm heading in the right direction. But that comment, it just kind of stuck with me. So when I started, wanting to have real butter and wanting to have meat in my diet, I just remember that Jesus statement, it doesn't matter what you eat. And then I would go find the place in the course where it talks about the body not being real and all this. And it's like, actually, I need to let all this go and just be in this moment and just enjoy this food and be grateful. And there are times where I've had big thoughts about like humanity's relationship with animals and eating meat and all this. Like I do have a perspective on it now that I didn't before. But really, I just don't even want to talk about food with people now. I just want to talk about the heart space and like what's going on in your life, But anyway, we could talk about it here. I'm just saying, like,
no, of course. So what is your perspective now with the relationship between humanity's relationship with animals? Like, that's like, because you went from believing, because you believe that you were being indoctrinated. Well, not a saying drop, but you were putting yourself in the energy of this specific information at this time because it's what you believed in at that time. And now you're on the opposite end of that. So before it was, you got rotted flesh in your gut and like all these different things that were in alignment with where you were at that time. Now you're here at this time. So what is your perspective now as far as like the relationship between human beings and animals? Mm-hmm. Especially since, it's a form of nourishment for you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I first just started questioning some of the things that Lauren would say about humans or tropical animals. And I just kind of thought about all the humans on this planet that are not living near the tropics and eat very differently. And I don't know. I just kind of like put aside a lot of the, the framework that I learned from him. And I just was thinking like, let me just look at nature, because I feel like with humans, a lot of beliefs are hooked into people using guilt. And it's a powerful emotion. It's a powerful feeling. And so I think that in nature, there's harmony. There are hunters and there are prey. And you don't see an energy of like anything feeling sorry for itself, or like, there's no animals like standing up against the way it is to make it more fair or just or better or anything. And it's like, okay, so if that's how nature's doing it, how do humans fit into this? And I just feel like I fell into this belief of like, there's an understanding that animals are a food source and that there's just a hierarchy of beings that are prey and hunter. And so I think that there's a relationship of acceptance on the part of the animals. And it's us that have this fear of harming them or not having compassion for them or not respecting them or loving them and still being able to eat them,
Yeah.
It's just this unreconcilable dilemma that I think people face. And, and I don't know the actual ethical answer for everyone, but for me, it just feels like at the soul level, there's some agreement that's taken place between humans and animals. And then I think of like indigenous populations across all of the Americas and their relationship with the animals. And it just seems like there's an understanding at some level that this is just an aspect of nourishment, and we were meant to be together in this way. And then maybe things will change, you know, as time goes on. But that's just how I feel now. It's sort of, I just have stepped into this feeling of being okay with it.
Right. I feel like in our modern industrialized society and world that we're in today, that humans have been conditioned to pathologize everything, every aspect of existence. So, I'm like not judgmental, and I'm extremely tolerant of how everybody wants to live. Like I don't consider myself a vegan, like an ethical vegan, even though I am like a plant-based eater. I've never really considered myself a vegan. Even when I was like on my raw vegan path, I would use the word vegan because that was just the term. Like raw vegan was easier and more convenient and more easily understood and registered by the modern person, by the average person, than saying raw plant-based eater, you know? So like it was just easy to say raw vegan, right? And that's why I named this Betterism, because it's like my podcast is Betterism. Sorry. It's not perfectionism. It's not like you have to be perfect in any way of life, because you can aspire to be like a plant-based eater, a raw vegan, a fruitarian, even just like a regular vegan, junk food vegan, keto, carnivore. I don't think there is a right or wrong way to aspire to be. I think you have to do what's in alignment with what you believe is good for you, because I am of the school of thought that it really does matter what you think or what you believe, because we always undermine just how powerful the mind is, and the power of belief, and the power of like just believing that you're healing yourself, which is why the placebo effect works. Like you can be sick and they can give you sugar pills, but if you believe that doctor when they tell you this is going to reverse this health issue, now you're going to allow your nervous system to relax. Your brain is going to be sending this message to your cells telling you you are healing now. And the power of the body starts to heal just based off of what the mind is telling it that it is doing. And a lot of people, because there is like this fear that this is wrong with them or bad for them, they actually start to break down. Like there's a psychosomatic relationship with our thoughts and how our body responds to our thoughts. So like if you are nervous before a show, you will physically get ill. You'll get nauseous. You'll throw up before like performing in front of an audience of 100 people. Like you didn't eat anything bad that turned your stomach, but it was literally all nerves. So and like if you are a person who I just don't believe in good or bad or right or wrong. I believe that there is just the laws of polarity, the laws of cause of effect. And like, there's just different frequencies of different actions, but I don't place anything as good. I don't place anything as bad, because once you do that, now you're placing judgment on it. And judgment is not productive. Judgment, I used to judge myself for doing certain things, and it did nothing but create and wreak havoc in my body. Or you can judge another person, and now you've just ruined the quality of that relationship or how people perceive you. Like you're just like, you make things chaotic. And back to like your original point when you were saying like the cycle of life, like there's certain animals that eat other animals. Like lions are, carnivores, and they'll eat freaking whatever, right? To survive. Like, is God in heaven like saying that's bad, you're going to hell for eating that and killing that? Like, so like what is good or what is bad? If that's that in the animal world, like you said, humans are the only ones who will judge an action and pathologize it and make it right or wrong or good or bad. And maybe it's good for them or bad for them, and that's not right or that's not wrong. It just is what it is. And if you come out of that mindset or go into that mindset, I believe that that's just where you're at in alignment, and it doesn't need to be judged. It doesn't need to be studied. It doesn't need to be analyzed. It doesn't need to be debated. It doesn't need to be like all this stuff that we make it, and then it just becomes divisive. And like, and back to your original point, and then I'm gonna let you go. As far as like speak, you were saying how there are certain people who are in the tropics, and it makes sense to be in alignment with that way of living because they are in access to an abundance of living, hydrating natural fruits that grow from the earth. And it is good for you. It's not bad for you. It does have all the good things we say about it is true. Mm-hmm. But if you're like somewhere in Alaska, or if you're somewhere like deep in the cold in Europe, your body adapts to what you have to consume in order to survive. So is it bad for a person who's not in arable land, who doesn't have access to all of these fruits that we're supposed to eat? You know what I mean? And I don't believe that that's wrong to believe that. And I don't believe that it's wrong for you to believe how you believe. But are you saying that these people are bad human beings and, they're low vibrational and this and that because all they have is access to the like meat that they have to hunt in order to like make it to another day? So it's like we're the ones who pathologize everything. And I'm so non-judgmental about people's choices for that reason, because none of it's right or wrong to me. It just is what it is. And you have to let people live how they want to live and believe how they want to believe. Like, I couldn't wait to have this conversation with you because I know that other fruitarians or like who align themselves as like ethical vegans wouldn't even touch you with a 10-foot pole because they're judging you. Like, how could she do that? Like, I've never heard anyone judge you, but I'm assuming there's a lot of people who probably judged you. Like, wow, like,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, well, at least that was my fear, thinking about talking on social media about being carnivore and all that. So I went through a lot of like, oh, what are people going to say? And who's going to unfriend me? Or, what's going to happen? So, yeah, but I feel like there's something came through, at least at the end of this 24 going into 25, was like, speak your exact truth right now. And so I was also talking about politics and just really like, I didn't care. I was like, this is the exact description of what is on my mind and my heart right now. And I'm just saying it. And I was like,
as you should, like,
it was cool.
As you should. And I remember that too, because I know that you're more in alignment with, I think you were like for Trump, right? Like you weren't. And like, that's okay. Like, I actually do not like the fact how I don't care what people believe in. I don't like how it's almost like during the pandemic, when people were literally being judged and being scrutinized because they had questions about the official narrative, not necessarily believing what the government says and not trusting the government enough to just start blindly accepting this miracle drug that came out of nowhere from this pandemic that came out of left field, and the official story really made absolutely no sense. But because they repeat it over and over and over and over on the news, we're just supposed to believe it's true and not question it. And I only say that to say they're doing the same thing now to like people who are Republicans or conservatives or align with the Trump campaign or whatever. Like, it's just like, can we allow people to believe how they want to believe without judging them for it, and without assuming they're a racist, without assuming like all these bad things about people? It's called nuance. I think you're allowed to believe in what you want to believe and have intelligent reasons for why you believe it. And you're allowed to say how you believe or feel, just like how the other side is allowed to do it. But because there's a more self-righteous tone that comes from the other side, it's like, no, you're evil, you're bad. And it's only because, in my opinion, when you turn on mainstream media news, there's only like one side that's allowed to be heard the most. And it's just like an agenda, a narrative is just constantly being pushed and forced down our throats. And because that is what most people believe, the other people who don't believe the same way are judged harshly, almost to the point where they're not allowed to have rights, where they need to be condemned for believing not like how they believe, like whatever happened to coexisting and not judging people and just trying to learn how to agree to disagree. But like, if you're not a monolith and if you're not believing how everybody believes, and if it's not like this massive echo chamber of groupthink, then suddenly you have to be put in this bad box and judged. And so I loved that you became exactly who you wanted to be and said exactly what you believe to be true, because we have to normalize using our voices and really being our true authentic selves, because it's going to be illegal to do that at some point if we allow people to be bullied for being who they are and allowing people to be censored because of how they think. Like, that's a really slippery slope and dangerous way to go, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think it's coming up right now because I think collectively, like the whole humanity is going through this big upgrade or ascension, initiation, or whatever we're all traveling through. And so I think that's one of the things is like we're all getting all our stuff is coming to the surface, and it's like if you're out of alignment, it's going to be intolerable. So you might as well start practicing. Like, this is the fully integrated me today. Hi.
Love it. And this is the time to literally start. This is the time to start. How do I want to say this? Like you said, getting in alignment and start learning from your karmic cycles. I think that this is a time where we can no longer repeat the same mistakes. You really have to start forcing yourself to break through fears, the things that keep us from doing what's best for us. If we're continuously going backwards, I think we're just getting to that point where we don't have enough time to be that way anymore. We have to get it together because there's like a desperate energy in this world that is trying its hardest to kind of maintain a status quo and a control that they have grown over time. But people are waking up, and the collective consciousness is evolving in their own way. And there is no right or wrong way to evolve. Like, I do believe that we already live in all of eternity. So I don't believe that even if you don't pass certain karmic cycles in this lifetime, and your spirit passes on before your physical body expires, before you get to spiritually do that in this lifetime, I believe we live in all of eternity. You have the other lifetime to do that. Mm-hmm. But I think that in this physical reality, with how things are structured politically and socially, and the agendas that the powers that be have for our human existences, and how aggressive they are on really pushing and getting us closer and accelerating to those agendas, we do have to start having like that conversation with ourselves. And we have to stop allowing the lower self to be in control over how we make our next moves. And it really is time to be in alignment and have that conversation with that higher version of ourselves. Like, we have to start to really be intentional about crossing over to that Christ consciousness. And I don't believe that has anything to do with food. I think it has to do with intention.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like things have gotten really simple for me with just my spiritual practice now. It's like, is this loving to myself or somebody else? And if the answer is no, it's like, okay, well, I have to forgive myself for coming up with it, or, like, don't attack this person. So it's really easy to kind of practice this nonviolent mental approach to to my spirituality. And I don't know, it just seems like everything is either love or fear, and it's easy to see. And I unblock my emotions. Like I don't try to hold anything in. Like if something's present, I just kind of let it flow, which feels kind of new. Like I think I would repress things until it was a good time, but now I'm like, no, fuck it. It's happening right now. So yeah, like I'm unblocked, and it just feels like I'm getting instructions all the time on what to do next, what to say, where to go. And I'm just like surrendering, like I've let go of the reins.
That's awesome. I want to challenge you a little bit. Because I believe that everything is everything. And I 100 believe in everything that like you've told me as far as like, but I want to say this. I feel like everything comes together full circle, and I feel like you had to experience everything that you've experienced, every like challenge you've put yourself through, every journey you've gone through, everything you've done intentionally to reach. It seems like your intention always was to kind of reach this new level spiritually, and to just grow and to develop and to connect with your higher self and to connect more with God. And it seems like that's always kind of been your journey. Like, how can I be better? Like, what can I do to be better? So I almost feel like everything that you've experienced, like the 40-day juice fast, going vegetarian, going raw vegan, having the intention to be a fruitarian, doing the water fasting, all of that. I feel like you definitely did benefit physically from just like the physical release of like whatever it was, not even just physically, but also whatever blockages. Because I do feel like sometimes when you're releasing things physically, it can also release a lot of emotional things as well. Because you do go through an emotional purge when you're going through a physical purge. I mean, that was my experience at least. And I feel like it benefited you in a sense where it's like a physical cleansing and a mental one and a spiritual one, emotional one, as far as blockages go. And then it led you to where you're at now. It just like, I feel like it was all full circle and it all needed to happen. I don't think it was necessarily like dogma or anything like that at that time. This is me challenging you, and this is just my opinion. It's not your truth. It's just my opinion. I don't believe it was like dogma or even like indoctrination or anything. I just believe you had to believe that at that time in order to even have the conviction and the discipline to just complete and follow through on that intention of doing a 40-day. Like it's hard just doing all liquids when you're used to consuming solids. It's hard to only eat fruit or raw veggies when you're used to eating cooked foods and salts and sugars and all these things that's a whole lot more stimulating to the body. So that requires like a lot of strength and a lot of determination to do. And I feel like a lot of times we kind of have to cling on to these belief systems in order to be successful, in a sense. So I just feel like I don't necessarily believe it was like a right or wrong way to believe at that time, just like how you feel right now. It's a right or wrong belief just in general and objectively. And I don't know if that's even me challenging you. That's just me thinking that. I don't think it was like right or wrong, no matter where you were at in your journey.
Well, I totally agree with you on that. Like it doesn't, especially like that's in the past now. It's like wherever this is what I am right now, and the transition that happened and the way it like arrived in my mind and the way I processed it. It's like even that feels like, I don't know, it's in the past, and there really isn't a right or wrong, because it was my journey and that's how it unfolded, and I accept it for what it is, and I'm glad it all happened. Like I have no regrets. Yeah, it was a ride.
I love that. I had to write that down because you said it's all in the past now. I accept everything that I've been through. And I feel like there is a lesson to learn in that. Everybody, I needed to even hear that. You know, like Doesn't matter what you go through in life. It doesn't matter where you're at in life, whether you perceive it to be good or bad. It's all in the past. Like learning how to be in the present moment and just be appreciative for where you started so that you can really just be where you're at and to not judge anything that has been experienced. So where are you now? Like, so what's going on in life now? Like, where's Sherry headed?
Well, I just moved to Kansas City from, I was living in the Ocala National Forest in Florida for a couple of years. So little change of pace, change of environment. And this feels like I was guided to come here. I'm still figuring out why. I did just start doing yoga teacher training, which I never thought I would do. And I really don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I feel like there's some kind of yoga that's meant to come through me. So I'm in the class right now. And I feel like I'm going to be just building community here. And I don't know. We'll just see what comes next.
Yeah. And now you're just present and what I love about like you is the amount of experiences you've allowed yourself to have, like the experiences you've invested in for yourself without limitations, without like this excuse for why it can't be done. Like you've been on, like since I've known you, you've never ever been sat still anywhere. You're like home for 5 days and then you're like, I'm flying to Bali, I'm going to do this, you're always out. You're like, oh, I'm on a Vipassana 21, well, what was it, like a 21 day
Vipassana was 10 days.
Okay, 10 days of silence. Like, so you were at a silent retreat where you didn't say a word for 10 days.
10 days.
What was that like? Was there ever a point in those 10 days where you thought you were going to lose your mind, or what was like the experience of 10 days of complete silence?
Well, I knew I could do anything. Like I was like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to be quiet for 10 days. And they brief you, the teachers, and they really give you this great incentive to do this because it just deepens your practice, and they call it noble silence. And there's just all this like having gratitude for the Buddha path. I mean, that's basically what Vipassana teaches you, is how that enlightenment journey looks. So you develop this really deep respect for it, and then you're there with a group of people. So it's not just you, and it's kind of like, yeah, there were people disappearing because some people couldn't handle that, but it's like you leaned on each other to stick it out and get the most out of it.
Were there a lot of head nods, like silence, like?
Actually, not that much. I'm like, I want attention. That was hard for me, with not communicating. And so I would make eye contact with anybody who would look at me. I was like a desperate, like, eye contact hooker. Like, hey.
That's interesting. So like, well, before we went live, you said you feel like your like psychic abilities are like so heightened. Do you feel like there was any time where you could actually communicate with someone almost like?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, what is the word? Like just
telepathy?
Yeah, telepathy, like telepathically. Do you feel like those extended days of silence in a group setting where nobody is communicating through their throat chakra, it's just through body language and through eye contact? Do you ever feel like you were ever communicating with someone, or at least could feel like you could hear what they were thinking, like in that experience?
I felt like I could guess what was going on in their life. I mean, we had a chance to talk a little bit before we went silent. But yeah, it really felt like I was able to kind of know the snapshot of where they were when they walked past me. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But it didn't feel like invasive or like, like I was meant to ask questions or communicate. It was just like, because there's no interference, your field is so clear and you're always communicating anyway. So I think, yeah, with silence, you can really develop that ability to sense things about each other without talking over it all.
Awesome. And I want everybody to know who's watching this or will be watching this, that because I remember you giving me the resources for how, where you went. So she went to a Vipassana retreat, and it was like a silence retreat. These are actually donation based. So there's not like a X amount of money that you have to pay to participate. And they're literally everywhere. There's even one in Massachusetts, like in Shelby Falls, Massachusetts, that I plan to go to at some point. You have to apply to it. It's volunteers there. So there's like, because there's volunteers, it's donation based. So it doesn't cost anything to have this experience, but you can in turn volunteer eventually to kind of pay it forward to be allowed the experience. And I think that all of us should sit in silence for an extended period of time. We'll learn a lot about ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you're right. I did go back and volunteer. I didn't volunteer at a 10-day. It was a 3-day. So we had to be there for 5 days. And it was so great to be able to support the students. And we meditated with them 3 times a day. So yeah, it was like such a great pay it forward opportunity to volunteer after you go through the course. And then you go from being a new student to an old student.
That's awesome. Yeah. So if anyone's interested in having that experience, just reach out to me. You can like leave a message under this post, and don't forget to like this live so that we can get it in the algorithm. I love this conversation. I think it's going to help a lot of people. Don't forget to share it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are here, so that you can continue to get more content like this. So I'm not really on like the socials like that anymore, like how I was. Like, so I deactivated my influencer page, and I'm kind of like on my like older page that I used to have, but I'm not as active on there. That's just more personal. I have like more like friends and like family and stuff on that. It's a lot smaller. I'm not on there sharing how I'm eating or what I'm doing, because I'm like very intentional right now about living my life for me and not sharing everything. Like, I just kind of learned about myself that I don't care to be like a health influencer in that way. I just want to live my life and be consistent with my choices. Like, it's always my intention to eat the best way, just because I want to take care of my body. So there's times I'll have like cooked foods, but like then there's times where I'm just eating nothing but fruit and I'm all raw. I don't judge myself for any decisions that I make, because like at one point I was really struggling because I was judging myself based on how consistent others perceived themselves to be or were. And I was kind of forcing myself to live a certain way because I felt like I had to, because it was the one true way. So I 100% am in alignment with a lot of what you said. Like, it's not my experience to go carnivore, but I 100% agree with how you feel. Like, am I doing this for me, or am I doing it because I feel like I've been told this is how we're supposed to live? And I find myself just feeling better about my life, myself, and how I feel. My nervous system is a lot better when I'm just able to live my life not under a microscope or constantly sharing every time I'm eating fruit, or, like, I don't mind sharing from time to time, but I'm just not in alignment with making everything that I eat like my online personality, because it's not like I ever had anything to sell. But what I do appreciate is that I have this platform that I've created where I'm more of a creator than a consumer of social media content, because a lot of my brain was distracted with the timelines, with constantly consuming information that had more to do with other people's life and choices and experiences, and then finding myself in a comparison state, like comparing myself to their growth and their progress and like their social media page, how many followers people are getting in comparison to me, how much more popular somebody else is getting. oh, I wish I could be a fruitarian like that and be that consistent. And, you know, because they're like, I don't think a lot of people realize, like, I respect everyone who's doing what they believe is what's right for them. Like, I respect fruitarians. I respect raw vegans. I respect carnivores. I respect anybody who is doing what they believe is good for them. And if there are effects to what they're doing over time and they decide to pivot and change, I respect their ability to pivot and change after coming to a conclusion based on an experience from wherever they were at in their life. Like, I just really respect people's ability to evolve and at their own pace and get how they feel about what they're doing. But what I don't respect is how self-righteous a lot of people come across because of how they live compared to how others live. Mm-hmm. You know, like how certain people believe that there is this one truth. And if you don't live this way, like they say, then you're stupid or you're an effing idiot. There's like such extreme like beliefs from people who act like they're the most self-righteous and they're living the highest way in the world, but they're so judgmental and they're literally cussing people out for not making the same, like in the health community. And I'm just like, I mean, is this really high vibrational? How are you that high vibrational, but you're so judgmental? And I don't know. So
those things don't go together. I mean, I think that you see the truth, you know, like we all have some kind of internal conflicts and, you know, we're doing our work or whatever. But yeah, I think the incongruency becomes more and more obvious. And then you kind of make the choice of like, well, maybe I'll back away from that person for a little bit.
Yeah. And I respect a lot of people and their choices. And I think they're right. And I also believe that people who don't believe them are right, you know, unless like, you know, but if people are really sick and all of this, I do also believe that you're going to have to be intentional about making yourself well, you know, like in whatever way that is. But it's not only exclusively what you put into your body. It's what's in your heart. It's what you believe about yourself. It's the thoughts, it's the conversations you have with yourself. It's the energies you allow around yourself and how you allow them to affect you. There's just so much more to health. And it's not one true thing. It's a trinity. It's a holy trinity of the mind, the spirit, and, you know, it's all of it, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it all works together.
100%. So I'm like really grateful for you being on here. For me, I'm all about having conversations with everyone. Cause like when I created this podcast, I didn't know the direction I wanted to. All I know was I was inspired to do it. Because I wanted people, I actually was inspired to do it based off of my own experiences from my health journey, because I really struggled. I didn't have like I had a lot of discipline, but I also didn't have like, I was comparing my discipline to other people's discipline when it came to challenges, like people who's able to go 100 days on watermelon, people who's able to go 100 days on grapes, people who's able to just be fully fruitarian or raw vegan for multiple years, people who, you know, like whatever it is, I would like be really disciplined for like 2 months or maybe 3 months. And then I would like relapse and then like binge eat on like processed food and stuff like that. And I'd go through this like detox or detox cycle, and I'd have these roller coasters, and how I felt about the decision I would make when I relapsed would affect my health more that I was finding than what I ate. Because I like strongly believed that when I would take a bite of like a Chipotle burrito or something, when I was like in my like retox or whatever, that strong belief of me doing something bad for myself it had me like, what is wrong with you? You like, you're self-sabotaging. You shouldn't be doing this. It was like this conversation I was having with myself was so low vibrational that was destroying me more than what I actually consumed. Because if you're gonna eat anything that's off course with whatever intention you have at that time, you might as well consume it with reverence and gratitude. Because if you're gonna eat it, you might as well at least pair it with a high vibrational thought, because that's still gonna be better for you than doing something that you believe is bad for you while you're doing it at the same time.
Exactly.
So that is what inspired me to create this, because I learned a lot from that experience. And because I was trying to be a perfectionist, which is literally impossible, I ended up like in this constant cycle of up and down because I was constantly judging myself. And when I stopped judging myself, it was actually easier for me to be disciplined. Like I wasn't obsessed with, I stopped becoming obsessed with eating and food and like the perfect way to be. And I stopped judging myself and comparing myself to other people, and just was like, how about maybe you struggle because this isn't really in alignment with what you want to do? How about just do what you want to do if it's better for your nervous system, because it's going to be better for your health over time. Because like stress will literally kill you. And I was stressing myself out, trying to like put myself in like or like be this ideal or whatever. And that's why I created the concept of betterism. Let's just focus on being better versus being like this strict way of perfection, especially if you are undoing a lifetime of, you know, conditioned habits. And because I used to be a terrible eater, and I used to drink a lot, and I used to do things that were not good for me, and I was not physically healthy, which is why I got into this lifestyle. But I progressively feel better and better and better over time. But I'm noticing that I'm feeling better more when I am just more imbalanced mentally, when I'm more into like physical, spiritual practices and being intentional about how I eat, but not trying to be perfect or not judging myself if I have, you know, some cooked food. And I don't like exposing myself to certain information in the health community anymore, because if you believe it, when they're telling you, you know, like cooked food will deteriorate you and age you, and it's poison, and it's this and it's that. If you believe that and you're still addicted to it, you perceive yourself as addicted to it, and you're still consuming it while actually reading this information, thinking that you're going to subconsciously program yourself into just making better choices. If you're not caught up to making those choices physically, but you're giving yourself this information that is in conflict with your actions, you're not doing anything good for yourself.
No, that's not a good place to be.
It's not. So that's why I created this platform, because I wanted to let people know, don't judge yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just at a certain level of your own evolution.
Right.
Like there is no right or wrong. There is just like experiences. And then once you're ready to learn from that experience, you get to evolve to the next stage in life. But you're not at a bad stage in life, and you're not at a good stage in life. You're just at a stage in life. Like you have to just learn how to live without judgment.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Yes. That is like that. I feel like your mind just expands, like the landscape of your reality expands so much when you're not judging, and when you're not like manufacturing your own list of old stories and recycling all this garbage. It's like, I don't know.
The fit model says, so beautiful, ladies. I love Sherry's energy. She is truly light. I love where she is on her journey. You know, and you know what I love about that? The fit model, she's God is Nanai on Facebook.
Yes, I remember her.
And she's on her fruitarianism journey. And I love that. This is why I am like, I feel like I love what the platform I'm creating, even despite not being on social media, like in the way that I was. This is just my way of still having an internet presence and still like being who I want to be, but using more of my throat chakra versus like, I love to write, but I also love to just have conversations. I'm a conversationalist, but I feel like I want to become a bridge to like all of the worlds and all of the thoughts without judgment, like the place where we can coexist in ideology, like political ideology. Like, why can't the left coexist with the right? Why can't meat eaters coexist with the vegetarians or the vegans or the raw vegans? You know, like, why does it have to be, everything has to be tribalism? Like, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm at. I'm living the one true way. It's like, no, you're like where you're at in your evolution journey, and you've put in a lot of energy and work. You did it with intention, and you've healed yourself in so many ways. And I respect and commend where anybody is at, especially if it's what they want for themselves. As long as you're doing it for you and not projecting what you're doing for you onto others and making them feel less than because they don't make the decisions that you make. It, you know, and I do believe people have a right to use their voice and their platform how they want to use it, because they're going to reach certain audiences who's going to resonate with how that message is transpired. So I don't even believe what they're doing is wrong. Either, because they get to reach who they want to reach, but then there's still that judgment aspect that I don't align with. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah, it's all great. I mean, because there's a perfect step for all of us. And like the things that don't align, it's like, okay, let it go, but without feeling bad about it, or, you know, it's just like there's something better. So all my attention is just, you know, waiting on the miracle to show up.
Absolutely. Christina says you have to go through the dark to find the light. It's a balance. I agree.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. And then I'd go as far as to say, how do you conceptualize what's dark and what's light? Because I feel like even that is a matter of perspective, as if like everything is everything at the end of the day, right? Because what we feel like is our darkest moment in life, because of maybe how we feel emotionally or what our surroundings are that mirror our reality and how we're feeling. If you didn't go through that point, you wouldn't have been able to even climb your way out of it to get to that place where you do feel more in harmony and feel happy and feel this or feel that. So what's perceived as bad turns out to actually be good, you know? It's just like, so full circle. But yeah, I
don't really feel like there is. I mean, we all manufacture our own dark. And I think when we perceive that there's darkness outside of us, it's kind of like our own lens that we're seeing our darkness out there. But as far as like, I think that like God is light, and everything that's real is light, and it's made of love, the purpose of love, for love, by love, and that we're experiencing this part of our mind that needs healing, and that's the only darkness that exists. Everything else is kind of just light and unconditionally loving and constantly present and constantly trying to get our attention.
Life is just like, life is life. I think we just have to guard our energy, guard our hearts, guard what we allow around us. Like, it makes me think of like, you know how like you gain followers, you lose followers, you have subscribers, you gain subscribers, you lose subscribers. And you know how like for me, I remember like I would feel away if like someone unsubscribe from my YouTube channel, or I would feel a way because like you're always constantly tracking being accepted, essentially. Right? Like, oh, why did that person unfriend me? Why did they unfollow me? This and that. But now I have more of a respect for it because it's like, okay, there's something about me and my message that didn't resonate with them. And like it disrupted whatever was going on inside of them. And they felt like they had to protect their peace. And I respect that, but before I didn't take it personally against that person. It just made me feel like it made me face certain aspects of myself. Like, why do you care about how they feel about you? Why do you care about their acceptance? Like, why do you care? And that's more internal work that has nothing to do with them,
Right.
So it's that projection again.
But it's good to know the things that you're afraid of, what people might think of you or what they might say, and what does that mean in your life and all that stuff. That's like an amazing thought exercise.
Absolutely. So I don't know, is there anything else that you want to add? Is there anything that you want to I think we're going to close it out. Is there anything that you have going on that you would want people to be a part of? Do you have any, I don't know, what do you have going on, or where can people find you? I know you have a YouTube channel, and she has an awesome YouTube channel. I subscribe to her channel. She has literally a course on miracles, like just like there's a course on it. She has her own course of A Course of Miracles on her page, and it's like you can really watch her journey and her evolution. I love how you document it. I think you've even gone live with a couple of people. Like, what's his name? The one in Costa Rica. I actually really like him.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, Eli.
Yeah, Eli.
Yeah.
What's his last name? Eli.
I can't remember right now.
I know, me either. I can't but he's on Jillian Berry's network a lot.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's an amazing man.
I love his energy. And it's like, you know what? He's been fruitarian for a multitude of years. He's got like a halo over him. He's got beautiful energy. He's hot, super athletic. He's like amazing. So I believe in fruitarianism, but I also believe in carnivorism. And I don't believe it for me, but I believe it for you, because look at you. You look amazing. You have the same halo. You still have, like, you're such an energy. Like, you have, I could even say, I think that your energy and your aura is higher than some of the fruitarians that are like really popular in the health community right now, because you just have so much more of an acceptance, of a calm energy to you. It's very peaceful. It's very like, I could just tell you're just like in the best place in your life right now. And I just see a lot of anger and judgment coming from people who live the exact opposite way. And it just makes me change my perspective on, what's right and what's wrong. So I'm really grateful that we got to have this conversation, because I think it's a unique perspective, because, it always has to be tribal. Carnivorism is this, because a lot of carnivores also believe that eating vegetarian or fruitarian or raw vegan or vegan or anything that's not that, or the opposite side. There's fruitarians and raw vegans who believe that being a carnivore, you're going to end up with health issues or a heart attack eventually, or there's all of these like strong judgments on either way. And I just believe, let people do what's best for them at the end of the day.
Me too. I think Whole Foods is a great place to start. I don't mean like the store, but like just eating Whole Foods is great.
Stay away from processed, because like it's just not real. I think that we can objectively say, like, some people, who knows, they have the immune system of friggin', I don't, like a god or something, and they can consume whatever they want, at least perceptually, and can be completely fine. Maybe because of, I don't know, maybe they're just like so happy, and so there's these other biorhythmic things about them. where they can counteract some of the actions that they take that would have a scientific or biological deterioration that, you know, at least of what we're told that would happen, right? Um, some people can just do certain things and be unaffected. But I do believe that it's important in general to have enough like maturity to just like want to eat naturally, you know, and I don't, and that's just like whole foods, just eat whole foods. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's cooked, doesn't matter if it's raw, doesn't matter. Even if it's your goal to be a breatharian, if that's what you want to do and that's your stage of evolution, and you're healthy and you don't have any health issues, whatever. I don't care. My goal is to get someone who's like a urine therapy practitioner, like someone who swears by urine therapy, because that's another taboo thing that
When I was doing the water fast, I met a woman who was like 9 years of experience with it. And after I had just said some real judgmental thing about it, she's like, "Oh, I've been doing that for like 9 years." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's why I just made that comment. So teach me."
you know what? And yes, could you get her on here? I've been trying to find someone.
I should ask her. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like that would be great, because I'm like trying to find somebody who has been in the practice of it for a long time. And I want to hear their story, because there is so much judgment against like urotherapy people who do it. And I don't judge them for it. And I want to know why they do what led them to that. Like I want to have these conversations because they're just like the best. I don't know. I'm just so tired of people.
I see me having a podcast as well, and I'll just put it on my YouTube channel just to make it easy, at least for now. But I love it. I think, I mean, A Course in Miracles, my YouTube channel is my Course in Miracles lessons. I went through the workbook, and now this year I'm reading the text of the course, which is the first section of the book. Really, it probably would be helpful to read that first, but people can just start doing the lessons and have amazing experiences with healing their mind, learning about forgiveness, like the real Jesus definition of forgiveness. And then you just feel more peaceful. I mean, usually your life destabilizes a little when you start clearing out the basement, but it's good. It's amazing. And so, yeah, I would like to have conversations like this more often too. Just, you know, really drawing out the good stuff.
I don't know. These conversations make me feel alive. And what's so funny is that before I have these shows, a lot of times I don't even have the energy for them. Like I've had a long work day. I've had to do so much, like, and I'm tired and I'm drained and I'm like, oh, I just got to get the show out the way. And I always feel like that before a show. But then I have the conversation, and it goes to show what gives life. Like, we always think it's just one thing. We like to put like a certain healing in a box, you know, like, okay, how do I heal? I have to do this. And it's just like, that's just a part of healing, you know, like you have to do that part. But like Christina says, yes, exchanging energy. Yes, there's something about exchanging energy just through our words. It just goes to show how powerful just talking to a person. You're not even next to me. You're in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Right.
And we're exchanging this wave of energy of discussion and just like sharing life, and like you sharing your life recorded through your eyes, you know, like you're the record keeper of you, and you get to share it. And that's what I love about life, because we really are one, and it's literally me experiencing myself through you.
Yes.
You know? I'm not even talking to Sherry right now. I'm talking to me.
Exactly. Right. I totally agree with you. I mean, literally, like that's what the course teaches. And I feel like my definition of reality, like so much has changed over that last year. 2024 was the most change worthy year, like the most transformative year of my life. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely create your own podcast. I think that everybody should create a. I always encourage people when they say they
Yes.
want to do a podcast, I'm like, do it. You know why? Because we start to pivot from being consumers of content to creators of content. And there's nothing wrong with consuming energy that you're in alignment with, because I watch some of my own favorite podcasts. However, if you have something to say, create a podcast or create a platform to say it, because you're going to attract your tribe and you're going to create a community of like-minded people, and then you're just creating a ripple, and you're creating a glitch in the matrix, in a sense, where you're actually literally are changing the course of humanity for the good. And we just need more people willing to be who they want to be, because when we're in alignment with who we want to be and we're unafraid to just be authentic to who we are and talk about what we want to talk about, and and not be afraid of being judged by people who don't agree with us, and our feelings are not going to be hurt when somebody no longer wants to be subscribed to our energy or our content because of something we said. It's extremely empowering. You get to be in the practice of being your most authentic self, and it actually makes you feel better about yourself, because you start to learn how to not care about what people think about you. And it's like the best way to evolve spiritually.
Yes. Amen.
All right. So I guess we'll just end it there. Again, I always go on tangents, and then like I'll be like, okay, let's end it. And then I'll go on a tangent. So, but it just sounds like, we're probably at the end of this. So I just want to go back to, where can people find you? How do they get to your YouTube channel or anything else that you have going on?
Well, the YouTube channel is my name, Sherry Oehler, and the word oracle. And I have 2 years where I went through all 365 lessons of A Course in Miracles. Actually, the first year that I did it, 2022, I started a little late, but then I did my own 30 days of like another part of the text. So yeah, I have 2 full years of Course in Miracles lessons on my YouTube channel. That's my big thing. I don't have anything else going on. I feel like in the winter time, especially now that I'm in an area where it snows, I'm kind of like hibernating a little and just really, I don't know, keeping to myself.
Okay.
So
I mean, you don't always have to have like something going on, but I just love to give people the opportunity, if they have a business or any coaching or products or something, so that people can find you. But she actually, even though she says she doesn't have anything going on, she always has something going on. I promise you. This girl, she's probably going to be in like France tomorrow or something. Who knows?
probably next year, but yeah.
But go check out her YouTube channel. She's got very insightful perspectives and just like a really peaceful energy that we all can benefit from and learn from. Yeah, so we've got some beautiful comments. We had Curtis Love, who said this was golden. Thank you, beautiful sisters. Curtis, I love you. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. There's just certain people in the community, even though I'm not online and Facebook, which is where I was mostly connected to everybody. I appreciate you guys for staying tapped in, for watching the weekly shows. Thank you for being here and staying, just being a part of the weekly conversation. And I'm going to have a lot of you guys that are in the comments on, because these are a lot of people that I grew with while I was like, on the fruitarian path, on the raw vegan path. Like, these are people I really connected with. Like, these are not even like friends or followers or subscribers. These are like family. So I love every single one of you. Christina Nicole LaCroix, love her. Like, online, like she has she grows a lot of her own stuff, like gardening and stuff. Like, I love her pictures. I just like, that's one of the things I would watch and be like, oh, I aspire to have like my own garden and grow my own tomatoes and fruits. And I just love everybody's journey. We had Bobby Smith in here. Bobby said, Sherry has experienced every aspect of life. I'm a fruitarian and I respect Sherry to the max. She knows herself more than anyone I know. Facts.
Oh, thank
Big
you,
facts.
Bobby. I love you.
So we had Ra Ishmael, my good brother. Need to have him on the show too. He said, much love, sis. Much love to you. We had one over here who kind of challenged you, TZ Frank. He says, going carnivore after a water fast, isn't that defeating the purpose? Serious question.
Depends on what your purpose is and what you believe about meat in your body.
Yeah,
It goes deep.
There is no right or wrong. Like you said, it depends on what your purpose is, So we'll end it there. Love you guys. Thank you so much for joining the show. Thank you, Sherry, for being on here. I love you. I appreciate you. Appreciate your time. And we'll have to do this again. And when you start your podcast, let me know, because I'm gonna want to be tuned in. And if you ever want me on, I'm always welcome to come.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Lots of love to you. Take care.
Bye. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. See you next week.